Thanks for joining me in another video. Toyota sells a lot of vehicle models like the Prius, Corolla, and many more. What do these have in common? Well, for one, they all have actual names. Today we're checking out the all-electric bZ4X. Yes, that's the name they went with. I've got to say, this car is a bit odd, but let's get into it. First, a little background. This isn't Toyota's first EV. They had an electric vehicle for a while, the RAV4 EV. However, it was discontinued in 2014. Now Toyota's trying again with its first all-electric vehicle under their global Toyota bZ brand umbrella. They plan on creating 15 dedicated EVs in their future lineup. It has taken Toyota a while to finally create a new all-electric car, and I have had high hopes for them since they've held the hybrid crown for so long. Subaru and Toyota worked together to ensure the platform used for the Solterra and bZ4X. Its pricing isn't too bad. It starts at $42,000 MSRP for the XLE front-wheel drive and $46,700 for the limited trim. Both trims are also offered in an all-wheel drive version. The car behind me is an XLE front-wheel drive, which gets an estimated 252 miles according to the Toyota website. Its fuel economy is pretty good for a car of this size, getting 119 miles per gallon equivalent. Some of the technical specs on this car are a bit strange, but I'll get to them a little later in the video. For now, let's check out the exterior stylings of the crossover. The bZ4X looks modern with its sharp angles. While the design is nothing over the top, it still provides a nice styling, keeping it distinctive from the other Toyota vehicles. It has a smooth front and sleek LED headlights, taillights, and a light bar running across the car. For the XLE, you can choose between 5 paint colors, and it has black finishings on the fenders and the windows. If you opt for the Limited, then you get additional 2-tone color options, and the windows will have a chrome trim. One of the paint color options is called Heavy Metal. I thought lead paints were discontinued a while ago. It's a joke. Anyway, with the XLE, we get the 18-inch alloy wheels with covers. Let's see what we have for storage. Under the hood, there isn't a front trunk, which is a bummer. Not all EVs have one, but it'd be nice to see some extra storage space up here. Let's open up the trunk, and here we have a manual liftgate. Behind the second row seats, we get 27.7 cubic feet of cargo capacity. Opting for the upgraded sound system does reduce the space here slightly, bringing it down to 25.8 cubic feet. The seats in the back fold down nicely to leave a flattish surface. It also has the 60/40 split folding seat, so you don't lose all that space in the back for your passengers if you're transporting long items on one side. It's not the biggest space compared to something like the ID4, but it still offers a decent amount of room. Alright, let's move on to the interior. The layout inside is very familiar to the new Prius, especially with the top-mounted driver display. This screen is 7 inches and the center display here is 12.3 inches. The detailing in the interior feels a little cheap with a lot of hard plastics, including the housing around the center console. This piano black plastic is guaranteed to get covered in fingerprints and dust. If you're not a fan of all touchscreen, then you'll be happy to see that there are still buttons and knobs for the controls. I think there can be a balance between complete lack of buttons and way too many. I feel like the front here looks very busy. There's certainly enough buttons and models to pick from. The offerings from the infotainment system are good, as they include Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and Sirius XM. The response between menus is pretty snappy too. It's easy to navigate, no complaints here. Plus, if you opt for the limited trim, you can upgrade to the JBL Premium audio system so you can jam out. Over my head is a panoramic glass roof with a power shade. That's always nice when the sun's beating down. Like in the Kia EV6, we have the extra pocket in the center down here to store a purse or other items. These are always nice touches. Lastly, in the front, there isn't a glove box, which isn't a big deal. There are other vehicles that don't have one. I guess you can keep your registration and insurance in the armrest instead. Your rear passengers will have room to stretch. Since this was built from the ground up as an EV, you get the flat floor. You can charge devices with the USB ports back here. This EV has somewhat of a tall ride height, so you don't plop down on the floor when you get in. Also, I'm just noticing this bar here on the top, which I don't know what it's doing, but it's kind of a flimsy bar, and it just obstructs the entire view at the top. I mean, I'm sure it's for support of some type, but with this flimsy type of bar, I don't know what it's supporting. Anyway, before we go on our drive, let's check in on our range. The car is charged up to 100% and the odometer is at 2,148 miles. We will check back later on the results of our range. Personally, what I like to see in cars is one-pedal driving, which this car doesn't have, unfortunately. You actually have to press on the brakes to come to a complete stop. Come on, Toyota. Though what I did notice is when you press on the brakes, you do get a little extra region. You can see that on the screen here with the blue bar. For someone making a switch from a gas to an electric car for the first time, this may not be a negative factor. However, if you've driven a lot of electric vehicles, this may be a letdown for you. The ride is comfortable and the seats are well padded. It's also decently quiet in here, but I think it could do a better job at reducing some of the road and wind noise coming in. So it's a soft drive and it has a good pickup. I mean, it's not a thrilling drive, but it'll be good for your everyday commutes. The display up here is kind of funny. It has these two ends sticking up, but it does help you stay focused on the road so you don't have to bend your head down to look at the driver display, but it is pretty bulky up here. The bZ4X comes standard with a variety of safety features, including blind spot warning and Toyota Safety Sense. The Safety Sense system comes with things like lane departure alerts and pedestrian detection. The backup camera is clear, however, it doesn't have the moving projected path lines. Not sure if it was a setting that needed to be turned on or it's just not available. The bZ4X sure has a lot of alerts inside the vehicle for safety. One of those is an internal honk to let you know an object is close to the car. The bZ4X powertrain is a bit confusing to me. The front-wheel drive has a motor output of 150 kilowatts, while the all-wheel drive variant has two tiny 8-kilowatt motors. There is only a marginal increase in performance going for the all-wheel drive model. When looking at batteries in EVs, it's very common to see the smaller battery for the single-motor cars, and then a bigger battery for the dual-motor cars. But again, Toyota is a bit weird here. The single motor car has a 71.4 kilowatt hour pack and the dual motor version is 72.8 kilowatt hours. That's only a difference of 1.4 kilowatt hours. They could have just made a shared battery platform for both and capped off the extra motor power connection for the front wheel drive cars. I'm not an expert, but that sounds like an area they could have saved money in. The onboard charger is rather small for a battery pack of this size, only outputting up to 6.6 kilowatts. Other cars like the Nissan Leaf have the same size onboard chargers, but they've also got much smaller battery packs. So charging overnight is possible, but it'll be a bit slower. The maximum DC charging input in these cars really stumped me though. I had to reread these stats a few times to make sure I wasn't misunderstanding. If you own the single motor car, you can charge at up to 150 kilowatts. If you upgrade to the dual motor, you're limited to only 100 kilowatts peak. This just doesn't make any sense. Why would you have two drastically different charging rates when they have almost the same battery pack? I read that they used a different battery chemistry for the all-wheel drive, which might explain why the charging speed is impacted, but it's still odd. I think if you made a pros and cons list for the all-wheel drive versus the front-wheel drive, the scales would be tipping towards the front-wheel drive. We're at 2,348 miles. We consumed 81% of our battery, bringing it down to 19%. Doing some quick math, it looks like we should be getting around 247 miles on a full charge. That's only 5 miles less than the EPA guidance of 252 miles. Looks like it's within a margin of error, so the EPA estimate is representative of the real-world range. So that's good. No issues plugging into these chargers today. The base cost for these EVGos was 46 cents per kilowatt hour. It took 29 minutes to charge up to 80%, which is in line with Toyota's estimated time. Total cost for this session was $18.61, which includes taxes and fees. If this car had a preconditioning mode, I think this graph would have peaked a little higher. We started off at 102 kilowatts and hit a peak of 139 kilowatts at 30%. It then started slowly reducing the charging rate at 32%. We ended the session at 80% charging at 39 kilowatts. The bZ4X is an interesting vehicle. It's got simple stylings, decent range, and a familiar interior. Toyota's direction with EVs hasn't been strong. They've always seemed to prefer hybrids and hydrogen over pure EVs. The combination of what they've done with this car almost seems like they set it up for failure. Maybe that's too harsh to say, but I think this car is just okay. I don't think the value of the car matches what you get. Toyota has a lot of winners out there in the sedan space. The Prius, Corolla, and Camry sell so many cars. Maybe it would have been a bit better for them to offer a fully electrified version for those. Not sure. Depending on how this car does in sales, I hope it won't halt the R&D on future Toyota electric vehicles, as they're such a big player in the automotive industry. I'm looking forward to what they come up with next, and hopefully it will be better. I mean, we're still waiting for that solid-state battery, so we'll see. Thanks for spending time with me today. Have any V I can review? Email me at info@kaizv.com. Kai is my dog. And support our channel and check out our sticker shop. Follow us on social media and learn more about EVs on my website, kaizv.com. That's all for now, and happy charging.